Wait, is it going to work? Okay, finally, it's working. Super. Fantastic. Nothing is broken currently. That's magnificent. All right. So I had this whole thing I was going to say when I was going to start, but who cares about any of that stuff, right? So I went and dug up something from the archives, and I'm going to try to pull this off, although I'm not 100% certain it'll actually line up right. Function? Work. What are the humans doing?
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want, and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't be scared. Just give me up. Don't be scared. I'm so gone, no, I'm never turning back. I won't stop, I'ma fight until there's nothing left. It's so on, you're gonna be hurting bad, cause I've been to hell and back. You don't wanna make me mad, I stay strong, you will never see me crack. And if you get in my way, you gonna feel the wrath. Gotta say it to my face while he's looking back. Mirror breaks after math, when I hate, I attack. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't be scared. Just give me up. Don't be scared.
Oh, Sasquatch? Oh, yeah, he's like the Sandy Waxler of YouTube's.
Next time he'll get his own ketchup.
Indeed, his own ketchup. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a buddy of mine backstage. We're going to talk about old pictures and weird things we've noticed in them. And we're gonna run through chat. We're gonna take a look at something Captain Curmudgeon said almost 6 months ago because I think it's relatively relevant. Hello, Drew. How you doing, bud?
Pretty good, Squatch. How about you, bud?
I am alive and kicking. I haven't pushed up any daisies this week, and we're going to try to keep it that way.
Good. That's the way it should be.
Bother. I hate it when that happens. Discard clip. Trying to get my chat and everything lined up, make everything function right. How's everybody doing tonight, man? How y'all down there in chat? I'm going to go through and talk to y'all in a minute. But first, are you familiar with Captain Curmudgeon, man? I'm on a personal vendetta. I am going to go and claw in every sub I can find for this gentleman because I think he may be the reincarnation of Dennis Miller, right wing. I don't know. I've always been fairly impressed with the content and the fact that he's been doing it straight for like 3 years.
Sounds fun.
Oh, he's a barrel full of monkeys. Check this cracker out.
There is big breaking news today from the intrepid journalists at the New York Times. After an exhaustive, months-long investigation, bringing to bear every resource the newsroom had at its disposal, the Gray Lady is reporting today that Joe Biden is a confused, doddering old man, and it's probably not a very good idea for him to be the president.
Told you
Now
it was
look,
relevant.
I know this probably comes as a shock. It's a lot to take in, but damn it, as God is my witness, we will get through this together. And let's take a moment to give credit to the New York Times for breaking this very important story. We are all of us very fortunate indeed to have journalistic outlets of this high quality on which to rely, on the strength of whose reportage we can always unquestioningly depend, these venerable legacy media institutions that provide us, the poor benighted bumpkins out in the endless, trackless expanses of flyover country, with an intellectual lighthouse of sorts, a bright, shining beacon that calls out to us through the fog of Russian disinformation and says, "Over here, dear sailor, the truth is over here. Noble captain, let thyself not dash thy vessel on the shoals of gossip and conjecture. Steer thy ship this way instead, toward the safe harbor of an establishment-approved bullshit narrative, because it's just less dangerous this way." Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you're just as shocked by this news as I am, for none of us had any reason to believe that President and semi-animated cadaver Joe Biden was not at the absolute top of his game, both mentally and physically. When he fell up the airplane stairs, not once, not twice, but 3 times in a row, you know what I said? I said, I admire this man's originality. This man thinks outside the box. Anybody can fall down some airplane stairs, but to fall up, that takes a man of courage and of conviction. A man who says, oh no, I shan't be hidebound by the thinking of the past. This president is not content to merely fall off the airplane in the style of Gerald Ford, for I, Joe Biden, am an innovator, a visionary, a man who always rides the leading edge of societal evolution. So watch me write my name in the history books by falling onto the airplane instead. And when he face-planted off his damn bicycle right in front of the entire White House press corps, I don't think it occurred to any of us to wonder who thought it was a good idea to have this man operate dangerous machinery in public. Oh no, what we thought was, look at how environmentally conscious our president is. He saw a piece of litter on the ground, and without a thought, he dove headfirst to pick it up and take it to a designated receptacle for proper disposal. And when he ran an entire presidential campaign in which he didn't do much most days but shuffle out to his driveway and mumble nonsense sounds for 7 to 8 minutes, it never occurred to us that we were watching a demented, badly fading geriatric with one foot in the grave who probably should be residing in a memory care facility. Nope, not at all. What we thought was, look how responsible and conscientious this man is, saving up his strength for when he's president so he can attack the job on the first day with all the mental and physical vigor of a man half his age. There's absolutely no way a drooling dementia patient could engage in that sort of long-term planning. It is so damned inspiring. And when he began reading the stage cues off the teleprompter screen, did it occur to any of you that it was the result of senility and confusion? Or did you think, as I did, well, that's a very courteous thing of the president to do, giving recognition to the person who wrote the stage cues by saying them out loud. What a very nice man Joe Biden is. And then, when they stopped writing the stage cues on the prompter screen and began writing them on little tiny note cards instead, none of us, not a single one, saw that and thought, geez, this is getting pretty rough if the old guy needs written instructions for how to enter a room and sit down and say hello. And why didn't we? Because we are not a bunch of damned right-wing conspiracy theorists. That's why. We could see perfectly well that the president, he was just trying to be a job creator.
More or less than others.
So now
maybe.
there's a prompter guy and a note card guy. Everybody wins, right? What did you say, Jim Eagle? You say they've stopped doing the little note cards and they've gone back to writing the stage cues on the prompter screen? And he's begun reading them out loud again, just like before? You know, come to think of it, I think the New York Times might be onto something here.
I hear tell that Lorenzo might have a thing with Jim Eagle. I don't know, but myths and legends. How are we doing today, bud? We good? I'm gonna roll through chat right quick.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Super cool. Okay. Claiborne County Transparency gets the gold because he showed up right after I posted this darn thing. It didn't save it, but he was the first here. I swear to God. So Claiborne County Transparency gets the gold. Andrew Langlois gets the silver, and Workline gets the bronze. Welcome to the show, folks. Jake, good to see you, bud. That's another lot. We've got Jesse Sepulveda. He showed up for the show. That's good. Like to see him. Russell Sperry. Good to see you, bud. Welcome in. Welcome in. There's Claiborne. Yeah, he's here. Living Histories. Mysteries has showed up. Dude, are you a time traveling multi-dimensional demon?
Why, for the last week I have been.
We got 4 Public Safety showed up. What's up, my Sasquatch brother? What is going on? You're about as furry as I am. I know it. I've seen you. Smoking Auditors in the house. Good to see him. Izzy Pop is in here. Excellente. Judd, the mod god himself, has showed up. He's truly a multidimensional being. I've seen him mod 3 chats simultaneously while I was in the same 3 chats. He's probably doing more, but I feel like I'm selling him short in just those. Forensic Mystics, Danny Staten, welcome to the show. Good to see you, Forensic Mystics. JJ's Adventures, welcome to the show, girl.
Hey,
yeah,
Jim.
We got everybody. We got everybody in here. That's good to know. It's got everybody.
There you go.
Hey, boy. Okay, so I got a few things over here that I got set up, and I've got a new way of doing this. So previously, and I know everybody's just dying to know this completely inconsequential bullshit. But I had my show set up. It utilized multiple windows for the multiple videos that I would host, right? And I have recently discovered that when they did this last update to the playlists, it doesn't always sort them now. Used to, or at least on mine, every time I would leave the playlist, it would sort it in some direction that I didn't understand. So I'd have to go in and reset everything before each show, and it got to be a real hassle. And I finally figured out that there's a setting there that you can set it so that I can determine what order it goes in because I say so, and it won't reset it. And I don't know if that just wasn't there before, or I hadn't noticed it or what, but yeah, no, now I can do the entire show in a single window, and everything is not, and it stopped smoking. Like it's not even smoking. We're good.
Wow.
Absolutely. Hey, Squirrel Sniper, welcome to the show, bud. Good to see you.
Squirrel Sniper, what's up, buddy?
So we talked a little bit backstage about the whole Vanilla Skies concept and how reliable turn of the century photos are. They're very early photos. In America, at least, some of your earliest reliable photos start at around mid-Civil War period. There's a few before that, but they were all private operations. It was around the Civil War period that the federal government got into actually having people document things officially with photographs. Did it happen before that you're aware of?
No. During the Civil War time is when they actually started sending field reporters out to the battlefields. They called them battlefield reporters and stuff. Like you said, there was some private groups when film exposure and flash photography and stuff was just flash photography. Yeah, it's a big tray about a foot long of basically gunpowder sitting this far in front of your face.
You've seen the old
you know, if anybody ever sits down and watches 100 Ways or what is it, A Million Ways to Die in the West, when they're at the carnival and they
beautiful,
you know, hold still, and the whole thing blows up and guys laying there on the ground on fire and stuff like that. So
All right, I'm gonna do the thing I do before I do everything I do because it's the thing we do over here. So the name of the channel,
I like the thing you do before the things that you do that you normally do when you do them.
yeah, they got to be done, and if they're not done, it's not done proper, and then we'll have to do it again, and that's just no good. So the name of this channel is Alt World Discovery. I've got it pinned to the top over here, and I'm sure somebody will freaking drop the link. Some random mod god in the chat might do it. Occasionally. All right. Let's make
Visitors weren't allowed.
Can you hear that?
Why, yes, I can.
Visitors
Fantastic.
weren't allowed to take photos. Cameras of the day were too big and bulky to sneak into the fair, and the photo ban was strictly enforced, which is why you rarely see photos not taken by an official fair photographer. Construction of the buildings began as the groundwork was still in progress, and throughout 1891, the Venetian landscape of the White City began to emerge from the mud of Jackson Park. In 18 months of working around the clock, the carpenters, bricklayers, painters, and plasterers raised every building and sculpted every statue on the fair site. What was truly remarkable about the main buildings
But Joe, you're not
was
a
not just the
multi-dimensional
designs,
mod god.
but
That
the
man
techniques
mods half
developed
the
to
channels
build
on
them.
YouTube. Good
The
try.
Colombian Guard, the official police force for the fair, spent much of their time watching for errant photographers, where the newspapers of the world all had correspondents to tell the story for the folks back home.
Welcome to Old World Discovery Channel. I'm your host, Douglas. Episode 2 of Season 1.
All right. So let's cover a little ground here. This guy has about 4,000, a little over 4,000 subs. He's pushing close to 5K. He's got 70 some odd videos that are very well done. The rest of them are, as you would expect a beginner YouTuber putting stuff together, trying to get a sound straight and all that stuff. So, I mean, you have your usual teething problems in an early channel. What I'm really kind of hoping to convince him to do is go back and recover some of his earlier work, because it's there, but it's kind of roughish. It needs a little polish, and I think he's got the polish now to do it right. And I think it would be very interesting to see his current take on it as compared to his previous take, like that. But what I dig about it is these photographs exhibit exactly what I'm talking about, things being apparently removed. This one, not especially, because all the grit's there.
This channel.
This is going to be such an exciting day. I hope you enjoy it. I think you will.
Today we're going to
Good.
look at vanilla skies. Now, this is a phrase I coined when examining old photos in 2018 when I began looking at photos myself with respect to mystery, history, and investigation in the videos that I did on my YouTube channel called UAP, after seeing Martin Liedtke's work on his channel. Now, these skies that I called vanilla skies, I also called Niller skies. I had noticed first that the painted on flags were atop the buildings in an obviously manipulated, hand animated or painted depiction on a photograph. Now, these are photographs that are presented as being historic. And in many cases, they're showing the old world as we are discovering on this channel. I began to see such anomalies as these, and furthermore, unnaturally cropped edges, and began to realize it wasn't just overexposures of light, but purposeful film.
All right. You see what we're talking about here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I figure, as compared to your average individual, you've probably looked at more old photographs than just about anyone else I know, just by dint of the thing that you do. I mean, there's like 200 in the Soiled Dove series. There's like a whole pile in a couple of the other videos you've done. So I know you've sat and looked at this. Has it ever occurred to you?
Since I started the original channel 4 years ago, I bet I've looked. I think I've done 4 or 5 vintage photo collection videos for the channel. And yeah, you know, I probably looked at 5,000 vintage photos just to find the right ones to put, or old photos to put in the videos. And I've noticed that a lot of your outside shots and stuff like that, especially during the Civil War era till about the 1870s, early 1880s, they all seem to have, you know, the milky sky and the clip at the video showed earlier, where it was basically animated people that have been put into an authentic picture.
If you don't look real close, you wouldn't notice it. If you just happen to glance over, oh wow, this thing's trying to shut down on me. It's fixing to. Oh wait,
yeah,
no.
it looks
frozen, but it's not
looks
frozen.
like a still shot.
Okay, I guess I'm still alive. Screw it. I've got four little cursors on my. I'm gonna play with this thing over here and see if it fixes it. Here, you like that? You like that, buddy? Yeah. Start smoking. I want you cookie. Come on now. I'm having an argument with my computer.
It's all right. That's what they're there for.
It's hidden behind all the things.
Are presented
there we
as
go.
being historic.
Success.
And in many cases, they're showing the old world as we are discovering on this channel. I began to see such anomalies as these, and furthermore, unnaturally cropped edges, and began to realize it wasn't just overexposures of light, but purposeful film exposures or masking during darkroom development, perhaps, and other types of manipulations. Now, this can be acceptable and there can be good reasons for this, but when we're talking about supposedly historical depictions, it makes one wonder.
Now, here's a secret. I had a photographer that was an art teacher when I was in high school, and I don't remember what brought it up in class, but we were talking about different photographs, and one of them was a picture of like the Vatican, and it had the entire sky melted out. It was kind of like the basilica, not basilica. Is that right?
I believe so.
Yeah, basilica. It was like an upward picture of the basilica from Michael Square, and the whole sky was all melted out, and you could tell because the trees had literally just been cut off. Like there were trees, but there was no leaves, there was no limbs, it was a really weird photo. And we got to talking about it. And she was like, oh, that's easily explained. And she explained it to us. But it's not an obvious explanation, and everybody I'm showing tonight has figured out part of it. Right? So there's not necessarily a nefarious reason to do this, although there are nefarious reasons also, right? The technique was used for a long period of time for a lot of different things, but the reason behind it's pretty simple. But I want to get through the videos before I come to terms with all of that, because it's interesting. The second one, we're just going to kind of babble across it, and I'll sort of explain while it plays.
Yeah. Joe Cool just actually said something about aren't old skies are in black and white. Not sure what vanilla sky means. Vanilla sky is when it is so creamy. It is unnaturally creamy. They show no dark clouds. They show when it's a darker sky, they show no light clouds. It is a unilateral color all the way across the panorama. It looks like somebody posted a photo over a white or an eggshell screen.
It's weird. It looks weird, and it doesn't look like a photograph. It looks like somebody took a photograph and then erased parts of it. for all the world,
Mhm.
just shoe polish and white shoe polish just smeared it across the sky so you couldn't see nothing that's up there. It's not so much the skies, yes, overall. The edges where it goes close to buildings and whatnot, it doesn't fade, and it also isn't abrupt. The abruptness is away from the building like a penumbra, like an aura. So if it was a legitimate photograph and it hasn't been altered, I don't believe it would have an aura around it of dinginess. Right? I'll let him explain. He goes into all that stuff, and it's probably easier if he just tells you.
Sure. And the purpose of looking into this today is not to see whether or not this was done with any kind of motivation one way or another, but to find what could possibly have been there that was hidden and what would it mean. Now, sometimes in these supposed historical depictions, buildings were not being shown that were there. I also noticed that the horizon wasn't level when taken from another angle or another photo of the same angle, same elevation, all other things being equal. In other photographs, distant ground exists, but in certain photographs, that distant ground or horizon had been replaced with a white or blank vanilla looking sepia sky. They use the color sepia a lot. And there may be some kind of a psychological reason for that, perhaps nefarious, but we don't know that. It's not our purpose here to look into motivations as much as what we find interesting about the old world that was hidden in history. And this is a mystery of history that we seek to uncover. Now, it is important sometimes to know who selected or commissioned these photos. Oftentimes in early photography, there was one.
That is the most important part about what photos end up with this vanilla sky effect versus photos that have a different effect applied to them, right? Is who took the photographs, and not just that, but who developed them. In the early days, you generally developed your own photographs because it was impossible to find someone that had the skills to do it just locally, right? Uh-oh. Looks like he dropped him out. Oh, no. Welcome to Sasquatch Hills, where the technical issues are part of the show. I'm going to be a Peter Pan. Not Peter Pan. I'm going to be Mr. Darling in a Peter Pan reading, and it tickles my pickle because I get to be a pirate. I like being a pirate. It's what we do best, being a pirate. We drink rum. We be pirates. It's what we be. I heard. Anyway, let this roll till he's back. There he
Just
is.
one single official photographer as a named source for
Welcome back.
documenting entire regions or events or times. Now, prior to the year 2020, this is being recorded. It's almost 2020.
Of course,
now.
Mr. Bingus.
This narrative had been
Hope you have a
unchanged,
lovely
but
evening.
since 2020, in the past 3 years, I've seen personally that this narrative has been changed. One example is Matthew Brady being responsible for the United States official photography for quite a while, his name being synonymous with nearly all photography during the American Civil War, being responsible for documenting this Civil War of the 1860s.
All right. So this gentleman, according to the National Archives, is responsible for thousands. He's credited with having taken thousands of photographs. Not impossible, but looking at the tech of the day and what it would take to do it, even with a wartime budget, the manpower involved and the sheer weight of the plates and the amount of gunpowder in a wartime footing would seem to me to be a bit prohibitive for him to have done it by himself. So clearly he had a huge logistical team to do it, right?
Yeah. One thing too about Brady that you have to look at. It's a well-known fact that Brady was known to manipulate the setting of a photo to make a photo better. I'm sure everybody has seen the photo of the sniper's nest down at Devil's Den at Gettysburg. You have a lone soldier laying there against the rock, his rifle laying beside him. Believe it or not, Brady walked 30 or 40 yards out of Devil's Den and found that body and rifle laying there and drugged that man back and leaned him up against those rocks at Devil's Den, laid his rifle down beside him and took the photo just to make the photo more interesting.
Oh yeah, no. The channel that created this is pinned to the top. Drew is from Living Histories Mysteries, and his channel is in the description, along with every other video or channel that's mentioned in this in this whole thing that I got set up. All of that information should be in the description. The only thing I'm missing at this point is hashtags. I have no idea what the hell to do with that. I want y'all to like put me together a list of hashtags that describe my channel in one go, and I'll just copy paste all 5,000 of them on there. I don't care. Maybe we get somewhere. I don't know. I feel like I'm doing all the actual work, and I'm not doing any of the weird, silly things that you hear people talking about, because that's not the work, you know. That's what you do after you finish doing the work.
Yep.
In the United States. Another example is Roger Fenton of Great Britain and his work in the Crimean region with respect to the Crimean War. These individuals were selected at very young ages for such major responsibilities as being the named single responsible sources for all photo evidence in the very beginning of photographic history. Now, the narrative has changed, being that instead of these individuals being solely responsible for so much, now it's being said that just their names were used and many other people were involved. Now, that's more believable, but that wasn't part of the official narrative until just the past 3 or so years, since we as a community have been bringing this up, such as on the channel Autodidactic, Campbell. And
yeah, Cam's got a good show. If you like the
now,
weird
on the one
and
hand,
unusual and
perhaps
extravagant, go check out Autodidactic. He's interesting. He doesn't take anything for granted. He's one of those people who kind of tries to believe everything all at once. You know what I mean, right? I mean, like, he likes to try to only from the perspective of being able to self-actualize your own reality. That type of stuff. It's hard to explain.
Yep.
Oh, I get me a kiss over here. That's cool. I like kisses. We're gonna cuddle later. It'd be great.
It makes sense that individuals selected to have these high responsibilities with this newer technology would be selected at such young ages, although it had been already many decades old. Here in the beginning of photographic history, not very many people necessarily would have been skilled or capable of.
That is an excellent point. Drew, you want to try to take on some of that one? How would you go about investigating turn of the century or pre-war photographs?
The easiest way that I have found, if you have questions about photographs that seem like they have been altered, you can actually scan a photograph with a good enough scanner, and it will show you the alterations from the way things should look to the way they actually are perceived. The only other way to do it is to take it to a photographic professional and let them tear into them. I have literally seen photographs that have the vanilla sky that they take them to a photographic professional and let them work on their computer. And when the photograph comes back, it's got clouds, it's got stuff way off in the background that on the horizon. I mean, there are ways to remove that vanilla.
Well, it doesn't so much move it as it reveals what is that, the light that reflects through it. That information is still there. It's just not available on the visual spectrum. So you can hit it with things like ultraviolet and whatnot, and sometimes find pigmentation that has permeated the covering or simply the development, because we don't know exactly what the method was to create that really over exposed effect, because it looks like paint. It looks like somebody painted it for all the world. It looks like somebody took a brush and painted it. But would you do that to the negative, or would you do that to the plate you're actually making?
You would do it to the plate you're actually making,
and you'd leave the negative original, correct? That makes sense. So in theory, although with all of this stuff is what, 250 years old, 300 years old almost, there's almost none of the actual film available. The only thing that would be available would be the original plates, perhaps.
Maybe.
There's no reason why they would degrade, assuming they weren't left in a freaking nuclear reactor or something. It should be fine.
Well, when it comes to the old photographs and stuff like that, everybody has seen the photograph of Mary Todd Lincoln sitting at her table with the ghost of Abraham Lincoln standing over her left shoulder. Everybody has seen that. She was a big believer in the afterlife, and there was a guy that was going around doing what they called spirit photography.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that video here, the next video has a series of Mary Lincoln, and what, Mad Mary?
Yeah, Mary Todd.
Mary Todd, right. She I think there's a series of those photographs that you're talking about on the next one. I don't know if we'll get to them. That thing's about an hour long, but we'll look at them. We'll try. A lot of those photographs seem to have not only current manipulation of the setting, but also post manipulation of the actual negatives themselves. So in a lot of cases of the ghost standing next to somebody, it's a case of overexposure, double exposure. There is one thing in some of the old box cameras called peripheral exposure. And this is a case where for a brief second, light is allowed into the box that holds the negative, and the immediate plate before it casts a shadow on the plate behind it. And it's something that happens when you're loading the next one, because it keeps it all in that box at the bottom. I don't know if you've seen one of these things. It's like a DeGuerre type photographer thing. The really, really bright flash with the big pan. Anyway. Boa. Is Boa in chat? Hey, John. Welcome to the show, bud. Squirrel Sniper. Good to see you, too. Martin Haley. All right, Squirrel Mate. I'm probably doing that completely wrong.
Making so many photos of such important things. Well, the age of photography was already, like I said, several, if not 3 or even 4 decades old in these cases, at least 2 decades old. And there were many more private individuals that should or would have had access to photographic equipment and been able to use this technology probably more than anyone in government employment. Yet we do not see unadulterated, privately taken photographs by citizens. One could say it makes sense in war that wouldn't have been possible. But likewise, if you look at photography of the World's fairs, world expositions. Again, it follows logically that if these events were happening exactly as presented and there was freedom and many people other than official government photographers would have had access to photographic equipment, and certainly by the 1880s, 1890s, it had been 50 years, well, there would have been many photos produced by citizens, many, many times more produced by citizens than the officials. If you think of present day and any single day at Disney World, for example, how many tens of thousands of photos are taken by private individuals? Now, it's not exactly comparable, the ease to which one could take photos, but back then there were handheld cameras. In fact, the only explanation for these World's Fairs and expositions having only photographs available from official photographers is censorship. And in fact, it's well known and reported officially that censorship did take place
After
in
these
those
messages,
cases,
we'll be
at least with the
right
Columbian
back.
Exposition of
What's
1893.
up, ATL? Good to see you, bud.
There certainly
Hey, Jock,
was
welcome to the show.
censorship of photography. It was policed very heavily. Photographic equipment, cameras, while they could be taken in handheld at the time, even in 1893, it was possible. These artificial restrictions and very strict censorship rules prevented that. So, as it is, in many other instances, for various reasons, what we find is nearly all available photos throughout the entirety of the 1800s.
Y'all see this photo, and if you look real close, I don't know if I can do this, you can kind of see through the Nilla effect. There's stuff over there. You just can't see what it is. It could be buildings, it could be clouds, it could be anything. And some of these steeples over here are actually painted on. Like they got covered up and then somebody went back and painted them back on. It's freaking batty. It's really weird. Why would you spend the time to do all of that unless there's a very, very good reason, right? I mean, uh-oh. I ruin everything all the time. It's what I do best. And then I get anal and try to fix it all in a hurry and it don't work. That's the way that happens, damn it. I hate you. I hate you all so much. Jesus, I made it way big, didn't I? All right. Somewhere near there. Skadoosh. Skadoosh. You know, in the future, someone should probably remind me that I can just hit play and do that while it's playing.
Are existing only from a very few sources, not as few as previously stated with examples of Roger Fenton and Matthew Brady, but close. Even with the adjusted narrative today, still, either way you look at it, nearly all available photos throughout the 1800s are from official government-sponsored photographers, especially when you're talking about wars, technologies.
You're very, very close, ATL, and you're not entirely wrong, but there was more to it than just the copyright issues. I'm gonna get, but as soon as this is over, I'm really gonna get into that part of it, and we'll kind of understand a little bit more of what's going on. Like in this one, you can straight up see another building in the distance. I mean, they're right over there. You just can't see them. So is that like a heavy fog, or did somebody fudge them out?
Photographs of prominent individuals, unsettled regions, public events, expositions, of course, and newsworthy events, all published by officials affiliated with governmental funding and oversight. So when we find things like these vanilla skies, as I called them, these are markers or indicators of there being a certain state of presentation of a designated or designed reality for people to accept. It's tagged, it's serialized, it's a planned out and carefully orchestrated experience
We'll get there.
about the past for people of the present and the future. And we really have to search for any clues as wise observers to figure out what kinds of rules and limitations were set in place when these documents, in this case, photographic evidence, came into existence. It may indicate what kind of objective there was and what are the really important things that remain unseen. And perhaps what remains visible and seen could have some sort of a code or a combination for us to unlock to have a better understanding of the reality. Whether or not it's very interesting when we get there, or if anything was done intentionally, clearly there is some kind of a script in place guiding the experience that we're presented. Sometimes it's thought that this society, this world that we know, is more of an island reality than just a realm. Oftentimes we do rightly, I think, believe or see ourselves in the center of it all in a very special time with great understanding, great knowledge, and access to that knowledge, and have no reason to suspect that anything needs to be stamped out or tagged or highlighted or
All right, so there's a tip right here as part of what is going on and why this is taking place. Right, this is one of the reasons. Like I said, there's a bunch of little reasons and stuff, but one of the major ones, ATL brought up the whole copyright question. Previous to like 1925, there was no such thing as copyright as you would recognize it today. And one of the ways that photographers would keep their work still fiscal and payable was by taking landscapes, blotting out the buildings of people that might be willing to pay to have their building photographed, and then proposing to be paid to photograph their building. And when they don't pay you, you blot out their building and put a skyline up without them in it. See how they feel about that. But here you've got the lines. One of the issues with the early photographs is there were so many power lines because of the type of power that was used. Because back then they were running a lot of short run AC, low current, and mid current DC from local power stations. And that requires about 4 times as many lines as you have on a general AC circuit. So they would be unbelievably annoying to a photographer. I mean, they're annoying today, and it's not as bad. Hey, Little Ridge, welcome to the show, bud. It's good to see you, Mark. Judd. All right. Let me try to do this right. As I understand it, Mark was involved a couple of weeks ago, a month ago or so, in a house fire that burned down his home. And him and his daughter are currently staying in a RV type thing, something. Not sure what it is. I don't try to get into people's personal lives, but if Judd can find his link to his donation link, I had it earlier. I don't have it anymore. I might have it. Hold on. But anyway, if it can get dropped in chat, there it is. There you go. We'll just pin that. We'll pin that.
Yeah, Judd's all over that tonight. He's dropping links like crazy.
I'm telling you, he is a multi-dimensional mod god. Yeah, it's sad. I mean, it's the kind of thing that could happen to anybody. You know, everybody's had that moment where something went up a little bit fluffier and you managed to get it under control. Doesn't always get under control. You know, sometimes it's a heater. Sometimes it's the dog knocks something over, a candle, the cat catches on fire. I mean, you never know what could do it. I've been watching his channel for since right before the fire, or rather, I watched some of the stuff from right before the fire and then subscribed to his channel a little while later because I didn't realize I wasn't subscribed to him. It was really weird. I thought I was, but YouTube, what can I say? You know, but he seems like a real good, wholesome dude. I'd love to have him on the show at some point in time when he's got time. I mean, I know he's kind of underwater at the moment, so you deal with what you got to deal with. But when you get some time and space, I want to have a Sasquatch show on your channel because he did a lot of stuff out there like a whole bunch of stuff, and it's really heartbreaking to see it all go like that. Anyway, I'm sorry, folks. Back to the show. We're gonna cover this. I swear to God, we're actually gonna stick to the topic. Stick to the topic. Stop getting me digressing.
Diminished. We think that when we search through information that it comes up the pure randomness of our own preferences. But when we start to notice that things are tailored and custom made and manipulated, perhaps we can look a little bit deeper and see if there's anything directly proportional in what we see modified to any sort of significance of reality or artificiality being there. Now, the World's Fairs themselves do fascinate me personally, and they seem to be somewhat fluid across the whole spectrum of everything between explainable to the heights of surreality. And the extent that history fails to make any sense about some of those more surreal aspects presents perhaps sometimes the most ludicrous and comic ways of anybody ever trying so hard to explain anything and failing. When they don't make any sense about some aspects that are presented, even in the most ludicrous explanations, because they're trying hard to convince people, they somehow manage to do it because so many people find nothing wrong with swallowing everything that's given to them, despite any kind of critical thinking presenting the most opposite of common sense and logic to even the most loose and base among them at the skill of critical thinking. But the approach of authority works almost every time. Some of the official presentations, specifically talking about the World's Fairs and World Expositions, seem to almost try to debase and mock the public in the way of highlighting their lack of critical thinking and the fact that these presentations are going to go over.
Good night, bud.
One of the best examples of this, again, is the 1893 Columbian Exposition. There was a video documentary presentation that was narrated by Gene Wilder on my channel.
That was great.
I spoofed this and had great fun.
That was awesome.
In the shape of a mammoth boat, rowed by figures of classical allegories symbolizing Columbus's discovery of the New World. Two other fountains flanking the administration building held a special surprise for later.
Yes!
Watching the original show is easy enough to be some good comedy for any of those of you who are like me, who are able to see.
Yeah, JJ, if you've never thought about it, you've noticed all of this in these pictures and you've looked at it and went, well, all old pictures look like that. And you're not wrong. Almost all old pictures that are still around were kept either by the federal government or recognized.
All right, Little Ridge. Have a good evening.
You have a lovely evening, bud.
Take care of yourself.
Do that thing you do.
Yep.
So while those are it's a series of rational explanations, and it ranges between perfectly understandable all the way through to a little bit weird, but just as valid, right? But this guy, he comes up, he notices several issues with the different photographs. And like I think ATL said, he's trying to express several different concepts at the same time. And it doesn't come across real great. But the source of footage, it's almost impossible to find some of these old pictures without knowing exactly what they are.
Mm-hmm.
The lengths that they go to sell some of the more surreal aspects of history as it's presented. And the use of a comedic actor who also played Dr. Frankenstein in Mel Brooks movies, also Willy Wonka, to do that is a tremendously prescient choice, if you ask me.
At the other end of the basin rose a looming statue symbolizing the American Republic. A robed woman 65 feet high crowned with laurel leaves and holding up an orb in one hand.
But hurry, please. We have so much time and so little to see.
Now, if there is anybody behind this with a purpose or an intent in doing it, I'm sure that they had some good laughs. Because most of the people who watch it imagine themselves as existing independent and autonomous with free will to make all kinds of decisions based on such presentations of history of the world as they know it, without giving it much of a second thought. Now, the theme in all of these early photographs of history seems to be so much about war. And the theme of war seems to be so much about technology. And at the root of all of that, they say, is politics. Now, in school, most of us, if not all of us, were taught that history is truly as presented, and everything that matters in shaping the world becomes history. And it's the politics and the technology and the wars that determine who's controlling the land, who's guiding the civilization.
History is written by the winners, not the whiners.
Very true.
That's what I should have said on the opening.
That would have been good.
That would have been a good one. Instead, I went, what are we doing here? Hey, Princess, welcome to the show. Good to see you, girl. Fab Daddy 44. I don't think I said hi to you on the way in. We also got Squirrel Sniper in here. That's always good. Little Ridge just left. So, okie dokie pokey. We've got a few more minutes left of this, and then we're going to have us a nice little palaver, a powwow.
Nothing beats a good palaver.
Right? Absolutely.
Whose interventions,
hello,
whose political power,
how you
doing?
doing?
Which people groups, men and women, either good or
That's
evil.
Cajun Roots reseller. It's good to see you, bud. Thank you for coming by.
Such as Hitler being bad and Thomas Edison being good. Oftentimes they highlight greatness of some individuals, and there's a narrative or a tale that goes along with the greatness, often involves sacrifice and oftentimes even destruction. I have no doubt that real conflicts did occur to some extent, at least diplomatically. These things were postured, troops were amassed, there were bangs and booms in evacuated cities, and the evidence of destruction of these cities and the architecture within is undeniable. What's behind it, literally in the photographs and figuratively in the motivations and events, are as far off in some cases as the horizon itself, even the high seas. It does seem that war was conducted for dominance, about trade routes, about the open seas, or even local civil wars in defense of or against native populations. Ostensibly, many of these were conducted originally or in the past by corporations, sometimes crowns, hierarchies, until around World War I. And now they say that corporations are not conducting the wars, and there is no overarching hierarchy or crown above the elected rulers. But until World War I, there were quite a few of officially independent kingdoms and khanates, specifically involving Tataria, to a greater extent, I think, than we've been taught or led to believe. But these higher numbers of independent kingdoms were reduced dramatically. Even among the native populations, if you look at it one way, these were also little kingdoms, smaller crowns or khanates of a different variety, but politically and for many other ways of analysis exactly the same, also overtaken and either completely wiped out in the case of Tasmania, or introduced or folded in, assimilated to whatever country, corporation, or crown dominated them. Now, what is the extent and what was the power of these independent kingdoms before they had been usurped? Not so long ago, perhaps long ago. How long this greater war has been going on, we don't know. We've seen much of the architecture of these civilizations matching around the world, all over the world. Greco architecture is, to the largest extent, existing outside of Greece. Roman architecture, the greatest percentage, in high 90s of all Roman architecture in percentage-wise, exists outside of Rome. We're told that it was built later. It was influenced by Rome, but do we know that? We can't really see that through much of an objective lens going back in time. What if we looked at things from a reverse angle? Just like knowing that the vanilla skies are not blank and that there was something there. What would it be? Well, in some cases, we've seen glorious architecture in the place of the blank nothingness. Well, what if the native populations were the civilized crowns? What if the so-called unaffiliated independent kingdoms were affiliated? Is that perhaps the Great Tartary? And had that not been usurped long ago, would their independence produce the type of architecture and lifestyle that we see evident in what's being destroyed all over the world to a much larger extent? Because we don't know how much has been destroyed if it was properly destroyed before we even had a chance to look at it. Definitely in the early photographs, there was censorship going on for a reason. Now, this was done long enough to destabilize and subjugate the remnants of the former republics, whose history could be almost completely wiped out. But maybe there was a larger world system, and maybe it was a better system. Certainly, going by the architecture, one could ask the question. And I wonder, since they destroyed the architecture with no good reason, it's been done in the city in which I live, in Toledo, Ohio, in the USA. Really great old world buildings were destroyed in the past.
There were great old world buildings in Toledo, Ohio. X'd out in the chat there, folks. Anybody else have a problem with that equation? How about you, bud? You ever seen Toledo?
I've only been to Toledo once.
Were there any old world buildings there?
Compared to where in the world?
Old world, as described in the video. It's
Not
showing Rome.
Not as far as I know, the Roman Empire did conquer a little over half of Europe. But I don't think they made it as far west as Toledo.
Okay, so maybe some rogue outpost. All right, I'll give them that. We'll go with that. We'll go with
yeah.
The Lost Legion fell in a canoe and washed up in Toledo. And
well, you know, the Mormons say that Jesus was here talking to Native Americans. So I mean, it's very possible that a Roman legion made it clear over here. So.
Neither one of those, to be honest. Because if you're willing to believe he got up 3 days after he died and walked off, why not to America? Shit.
Yeah, it's like holy hell, I'm not staying here. These bastards killed me once. I'm going someplace else.
Right. I mean, you just hitch a ride on a Viking ship right around then, you might make it.
Yeah, Judas Iscariot can kiss my ass. I'm going over across the ocean.
Yes, for you guys, I'm going on.
What is it? Cartman says, "Screw you guys, I'm going home."
Screw you guys, I'm going home. Exactly.
And for what? For parking lots in some cases. Well, does the architecture itself pose some kind of a threat? There's so many questions that can be asked. And that's what we're going to do on this channel as we continue. Stay tuned for more.
We've covered enough of that one. I'm going to drop him there link in one more time. And the next one I'm not really planning on listening to. We're going to have us a little palaver here. But I'm going to mute it and let it roll. Come on, function. Why are you so mean to me? Don't be bad. All right. So I promised to tell you how it was that the reason for this whiteout is both nefarious and not necessarily nefarious. So here's the deal. Here's the way it works. Back pre-1925, the copyright system was somewhat sketchy, right? You could just straight up jack photographs out of newsrooms, and people did all the time. One of the ways to verify that a photograph was yours was to alter it in an unnatural way that was obvious yet not but subtle, right? Once it was called out to you, hey, this is wrong, that's wrong, and that's wrong. And so you could have a telegraph identify whether someone had stolen your work or not. Right?
Makes sense.
It's kind of like how the map makers used to make up.
I'm in trouble understanding right now. Please try a little later.
No one said, Alexa, shut the hell up, you drunk bitch.
Alexa's drinking again.
Alexa's drinking again.
Okay,
Sorry,
so
okay,
I'm
that
having
time
trouble
I said
understanding
Alexa.
right now.
Alexa,
See the shit I got to put up with. Vanessa! If that thing would have went off, I would have peed on myself.
And I would have laughed at you immediately.
I know you would have.
All right. So one of the ways that the map makers used to verify that nobody was copying their maps, or that someone did, is they would imagine like make up towns and put them on the map that didn't actually exist, so that when that map got reprinted later in a magazine or something, they could go, no, that's my map. That town is fictional. It doesn't exist. If it's on this map, it's because they stole it from me. Right? It was sort of a copyright check. Also, in order to have these types of things, all of the equipment and the mechanisms and all the things have to be maintained like a clocksmith, you know. Like watchmakers were often used to repair these things because it took such fine mechanisms to create these daguerreotypes and whatnot. So because it was so expensive, an individual that was taking a photograph of a landscape and caught in the background several prominent buildings might remove the buildings and then approach the buildings with the photograph and explain to them that you have the original that has the building in place. How would you like to have, you know, and charge them for that photograph, basically. That happened all the time. In other cases, the building owners themselves would pay to have their building removed because they didn't want the construction or some aspect of it they didn't like in what the person was doing. They didn't like the person or whatever. They'd be like, hey, we'll give you $50 to remove our building. We'll just white out over that too. Right. Also, there were wires, clotheslines, crap hanging out of windows. There was all kinds of stuff that was removed just in general because it was deemed as untidy or unhealthy. So quite often when you see these clean, empty streets, those photographs were taken at times when the streets had been closed and cleaned, and the photograph would be taken, and then people would be turned back loose, and they would take pictures of individual people. There's one of them right there. Individual people to place later in a montage collage of different photographs at different times to make the place look occupied. Does that make sense? They set the camera up and took multiple photographs and then cut all of them into one mega photograph like we would do a mosaic so that the place looks occupied. There's horses where you'd expect horses and whatnot, but it's not dirty. Still skipping the bricks. Shipping bricks, right? Let's start raving mad. Anyway.
Yeah, if you'll notice with a lot of those old photographs, and it's something that I noticed a long time ago with my compilations of my vintage photos and a lot of my videos. Back in the day before automobiles, when you had horse-drawn carriages and horse-drawn wagons and people riding horses in town, you very seldom ever seen horse shit in the street.
Right.
Because they would, when they were going to photograph Chicago or New York or Billings or whatever the case may be, they would, like Squatch said, they would completely shut that street down. They would clean it. They would scrub it. They'd make it pretty. They'd run a horse or a couple carriages in there. They'd snap the picture. And then people would start on moving again. Because, I mean, you know, it took 35, 40 seconds for the old tinnitypes and stuff to expose. So everybody would just kind of be sitting still, like you're posing for a picture. And then when that time was over, your cameraman would yell, "Go," or "Done." And everybody would go on about their business. People would come in from the side streets and go back onto that road. And within 5 minutes, it was covered in horse shit again. Stray dogs running around, prostitutes standing outside the buildings, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's what I was saying is, especially the earlier you go in photography, the more managed and set the actual setting is. So when you see the early photographs of soldiers sitting on the back of like gunpowder carts in the Civil War, those guys sat there for 37 seconds, 40 seconds, a minute and a half. The better the photograph is, the longer they sat there. And so anything in the photograph that moved would only be a haze, and you'd go over it with an effect to make that not be there. So that explains an awful lot of it when it comes down to it, where they're just taking out things that moved, like the effects of limbs blowing in the breeze and stuff. When you're talking long duration photographs, explains a lot of it. Corporations paying to have their uncompleted building removed from photographs that were going to be released in public papers takes care of them, some of it. There were also a group of like negative influences after a fashion. These were people like in the War Department. The effect of the whole Vanilla Skies effect takes place all the way up to about 1920 to 25,
right around there.
Right. And then after that, you get perfect, beautiful, immaculate photographs for 10 or 15 years, and then the Vanilla Skies effect returned with the use of airships and war photography for the First and Second World Wars. Right. During the First World War was the tail end of the Vanilla Skies effect, and then there was 10 years where it didn't happen. And there are a ton of beautiful photographs of post-war Europe that were taken during that time period. But anything earlier and anything a little later starts being whited out again because of the war footing that was taking place post Europe 1930 or so. Because they weren't technically at war, but it was already kind of obvious that things were fixing to pop off.
Yeah.
But there's not a whole bunch of excellent pictures of Europe after about 1931. And then it goes back to the weird Vanilla Skies stuff.
Well, and you know, I've been sitting here glancing back and forth between here and the computer, and I've been looking at a lot of these photographs and stuff. You know, anybody who says they did not have the knowledge to do photo manipulation back in the latter part of the 19th century or the early part of the 20th century got more shit than a Christmas goose.
Absolutely full of it.
I mean, you all just seen that picture a few minutes ago of the guy with the wheelbarrow and this 500-pound onion. You know, they did not make 500-pound onions. They did
If
not.
you don't think they could do it, I got some pixie pictures I want to show you.
Yeah.
Blow your freaking maybe. Those
Dude,
pixie pictures really good. Really good.
I'm working on that 60th anniversary Doctor Who video right now. I have got a TARDIS on Gallifrey. All I have to do is signal that sucker with my my screwdriver, and it will be right here. I will sell that son of a bitch to you.
Holy shit. That's right. Not just full of shit, but holy shit.
Holy shit.
And yeah, no, I mean, anybody who thinks they couldn't manipulate those photographs, pretty much however they wanted. What always got me in those old photographs that had the milky sky effect going on is how sloppy it really was when you come down to it. Like, it was good enough for newspaper photographs. You wouldn't even notice it. But when you go back to the originals, the effect is done like grade school people were used for workforce on it, which means there should be a lot more. What have you done? I have Mind Unveiled plugged right into my Discord. Can you try that again?
Wow.
I see your text to speeches. Yeah, he has a TARDIS. It's on loan to Gallifrey. Oh my God!
Okay, for those of you that aren't Doctor Who fans, the TARDIS is the blue police mailbox that he gets into, and he goes, we vanishes, and he travels through the time vortex, and you know, it's the 60th anniversary of the show. I had to do something. It is the longest running show in TV history, so I mean, I had to do something on it.
I don't blame you.
Besides, I like to have a lot of fun with all the effects and stuff. So I mean,
I was just fixing to say, how many hours of Doctor Who content do you reckon there is?
Oh my God.
200?
Oh God, probably more.
How many episodes are there? They're generally what, like 43 minutes in the late 70s. They were 67 minutes before that. And early ones, some of those were like an hour and 10 minutes long.
Oh yeah.
Some of those were long. They were like movies long.
Yep. There's gotta be 400 plus hours in 60 years of Doctor Who being on TV.
You can look through the past 60 years of BBC programming and find almost all of the Doctor Who stuff being used secondhand for something else. You'll find it on various shows, and because BBC is one of the longest running broadcast networks, they still have some of the stuff from like the early Sherlock Holmes shows and stuff.
All right, Jan, you have yourself a good evening, dear. We'll talk to you later. Probably talk to you tomorrow sometime.
Much love, darling. Don't let the man get you down. You know how it be. And remember, you tell him you don't ask questions and you want to talk to your lawyer. That's all you tell them. I've been watching a bunch of these JCS inspired psychological looks at these interrogations. And I can't explain half of what I'm seeing these people do. These are murderers who know they have murdered someone recently, and I don't mean like 2 months ago, 6 years ago. I'm talking about the ones that like murdered them this morning, and now they're in the interrogation room trying to bluff their way through this. Still covered in blood and shit. And I'm like, dude, what the hell are you thinking? You calm down, Moose. My dog came in here a while ago. I had my door pushed shut, and he just slammed the door open and plowed into the table I got next to my thing and hopped up on the bed and then stood there staring down at me. Just I don't know why. He doesn't usually hang out with me in here.
You know, you're talking about those murder shows. My wife watches ID channel religiously. And I see the ID channel as an instructional channel for women who have contemplated killing their husband and getting away with it. So they watch all these shows about how they found these fingerprints, or they found these fingerprints, or this place smelled like bleach, or, you know, they found this hair. So I'm thinking shower cap, rubber gloves, pillow. You're leaving no evidence behind. Yeah, I don't know why, but for some reason for Christmas, my wife bought me a brand new pillow, and you cannot breathe through that thing.
You check?
I held it over my face to make sure.
That is slightly absurd, but I approve your effort.
Some scary shit, dude.
Why would, but I mean, okay. Yes, it's scary to put a pillow over your own face and try to.
Well, she don't want to leave any blood behind because she knows I've got knives, swords, battle axes, Civil War pistols, derringers, stuff like that laying around here. So I figure it's going to be the cleanest way possible.
You one of those people that got a huge rack of like bladed instruments propped up in the corner somewhere?
Well, it's not a huge rack of them, but let's just say if anybody contemplates robbing this house and they walk around and look through the windows and they still force their way in.
I get that one. They peep through the windows and see the shit hanging on the walls, decide they want to come in.
Before the wife and I got married, the old chief of police here, he's retired now, great guy. We were up at the diner talking one day, and I introduced myself to him, and we were talking about different weapons, what I did and stuff like that with my reenactments. And he said, well, we don't have to worry about anybody, you know, breaking into your house in the middle of the night. And I said, if they do, and you get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning about an illegal entry at this address, I would suggest bringing grocery bags and foregoing the body bag.
Mm-hmm.
Because they may come in one piece, but I have a 6-foot-long Scottish claymore that throws like a spear.
Yeah. When I was 19, I moved into a 3-bedroom apartment uptown, and I was staying there at one point.
Another life.
One of the
man dies trying to prove wife was trying to kill him.
One of the neighbors was this black kid that always threw these parties on like random Saturday nights, and one evening about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, his mama comes home, kicks everybody out in the front yard, just kicks them out, just doesn't care about none of it, throws them out, they're leaning out, all their drugs out. She slung a bag of weed out in the yard that was big as my head, just threw it out in the yard. And we were standing there with the door open when all of this happened. I looked at him, I was like, y'all need somewhere to party? We were just fixing to start partying. Why don't you grab all your shit and come on in? So they kind of looked around at each other for a second, and I looked back at my roommate. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? Right? Like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, you didn't see that? They just threw out an entire party. We can just like flip a switch and have a party going over here. We don't even have to do anything, but I have one thing to insist. He said, what? I said, anyone that comes in this place has to be armed. He said, that's insane. I said, I know. It's absolutely stark raving mad. I turned around and stopped the first guy coming in the door and said, excuse me, sir, I have to ask you a question. Do you have any weapons on you? He said, no, man, I'm clean. I swear to God. I said, that's too bad. And I grabbed a battle axe and handed it to him. I said, here you go. Take care of yourself. Come on in. Stop the next guy. And I went through the whole row pulling swords and battle axes and stuff and staffs and out of the corner in the hallway right there, and armed absolutely every one of them. And it was the soberest party you ever saw in your life, because suddenly nobody wanted to act up at all because everybody had a sword or a crossbow. and Jim was like, my roommate at the time was like, that was kind of genius, dude. Like, I didn't think about it, but everybody be acting right because everybody's armed. I was like, exactly. It makes really good neighbors, man. I swear to God. Everybody acts right whenever got a pistol. It's good. What do we got going on?
Titled Solar Effects.
Ooh,
which
he's got a good
if you
voice.
told someone this was an old photograph, no one would guess it's edited.
Okay. My favorite, I'm waiting somewhere over here. He gets into the montage collections. I couldn't find it earlier. It's in here somewhere. Anyway, the not montage collection, collage montage. You remember that first video where we saw the people that had been painted into the photograph that at a glance looked like people, but in reality were just painted? It's like that, but instead of them being painted, they take little cells of they take an unexposed plate, and then they use the negatives, sometimes actually cut up the negatives to make an exposure plate that includes all of the people that occurred in that 24-hour period, and placing it on, like we said before, a clean street so that you don't see all of the horse poop and the gutter the water in the gutter and the prostitutes standing on the street and stuff. They go out and they pop one really quick photograph to use for the clean slate, and then montage the people in to make it look like a busy scene. Tell you what we're fixing to do. See, some of these photographs are absolutely nuts too, man. Like that one. I mean, I figure my man popped his neck, right? Or was he already dead? I have no idea. And of course, that one's just he's juggling his own head. Can you stand on your head? Oh yeah, what was I doing? I was doing a thing. This thing. Skadoosh. All right, y'all know the rules. Don't be getting clever on me. Skadoosh. Skadoosh. And we'll give this about 30 minutes. If nobody hops up, we'll move on to some other shit, like watching a movie backstage after we turn all this stuff off. Well, that seems odd. Oh, no, that's good. That works. Okay. Actually, we got 30 minutes left. Hold up. Let's see what the next one is, because I really dug it. I watched it earlier. I accidentally watched all of it. I didn't mean to. Where's it at? Ah, there it is. Skadoosh. Right. All right, so see if I can get this done properly. Mr. Chuns Buns, with his 378 subscribers, has decided to do a bit of a expose on the Pollock twins. Are you familiar with this particular batch of photographs? It's more of a photographic mystery than anything else, although I think they were bona fide freaks for Barnum. Pretty sure.
I am somewhat familiar with the Pollock twins, but as for the series of photographs, no.
All right, we're gonna watch it, but I want to. Oh, this is weird. It's just a thumbnail. Okay, let's see what he has to say about it. Right?
Sounds good.
Maybe there's nothing there.
In May 1957, a small town of Husks in England,
in Husks,
11-year-old Joanna Pollock and her younger sister, 6-year-old Jacqueline, were on their way to church with their friend Anthony.
What's up, bud?
They were struck by an erratic driver.
Not much.
Almost instantly, the two sisters were killed. Anthony, just 9 years old, died while traveling to the hospital.
I got the wrong freaking video.
The driver, a local woman, who was under the influence of a number of drugs, had intentionally hit the 3 children after being forcibly separated.
Who
from their
was
own
the
kids.
Siamese twins?
The case later
That
made
weren't.
headlines throughout
Do you
Britain,
remember the one
with
from
the woman
the
eventually
early Barnum and Bailey, back before the fire?
There was the Asian brothers.
Asian brothers. There was also the 4-legged sisters.
Yeah.
Remember them? And it was always debated whether they were actually
conjoined.
Yeah, there's no evidence they were ever actually conjoined. The 2 girls merely favored each other and wore clothes that made them walk around together, basically, was the idea. Although there's no evidence really either way. But, let's be honest, Barnum wasn't exactly the most honest individual in history.
Yeah, but he put on the greatest show ever, and he went on for doing it for over 100 years. So you got to give him credit.
Because apparently this is an unsolved crime video, and I thought the Pollock twins were the Siamese twins.
I didn't think they were Siamese. I just thought they were completely, perfectly identical.
Was that what they were? I hate it when I'm wrong. It makes
let me look. Let me look real quick.
I know there was Ming. What was it? Ming and Yang. Ming and
something like that.
Don't say Ming and Ling. Ming Ling.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing to say.
My ding-a-ling and your ding-a-ling, we ding-a-ling-a-ling. Hello, Walter.
Chain and Ang.
Chang and Ang. That's it. God, I feel so racist.
Yeah, along with Tom Thumb, Chang and Ing were one of P.T. Barnum's most popular curiosities.
Yes, they were.
Crypto Alchemist. Good to see you, bud. Appreciate you coming through. Hit that like button. Hey, everybody's got a share button nowadays, from what I hear. You ain't even got to have 500 subs no more. You just got to go to your channel and turn it on. And I don't know how to tell you to do that because I had to do it the hard way. Screw you guys.
How many subs you got?
17 and change. 1,700 and change.
What? That's 1,700. 100.
Yeah, almost 1,800.
Almost. In fact, I broke 1,800 for about 20 minutes earlier today, but I wasn't going to mention it. But I was going to try to flex, but it didn't happen because you know how it is. It drops back down.
And you've been doing this for about a year and a half now?
A little over a year, maybe not quite a year and a half. Yeah.
That's pretty good, man.
Well, I mean, thank you. I've run into a whole bunch of like really awesome people. I mean, like what's truth over there is an absolute troll. But once you get past that whole scaly under a bridge exterior, he's not a terrible guy.
Who's what's truth? I don't know who you're talking about.
He's in chat.
I know.
Hey, trolls need love too. The way I look at it, every once in a while, I'll need a decent troll. I'll throw a goat to him.
Hey, Walter. Good to see you, bud. Like people from Press On, Press Harder, Press Now.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that guy. He's easy to get on panel, very difficult to understand because he likes to play word games, right?
What kind of word games? What are you talking about?
People. His word games involve the interpretation of Black's Law Dictionary as the law of the land, so to speak, right? Black's Law was written in 1886, 1797 or some shit. It's old as hell. And its language is a little different from the modern interpretation of various laws of the land, right? So when he speaks, you have to take into account that when he chooses to, he utilizes the definition from like basically pre-war American dictionaries. And then when he chooses to, he uses modern language.
Hey, can I ask you a question? Is there any Black Laws comedy out there?
Black's Law Dictionary is about as dry reading as you're going to find.
I know, but can you make it into comedy? And if you could, what would it sound like? That is an interesting thought I just had. Because I know what you're talking about.
I can't. There's nothing funny about Black's Law Dictionary. I just don't see it. Anybody got anything funny to say about Black's Law? Because I just don't see it, dude. Like,
I know that would be interesting. No, that's what I'm saying. I haven't seen anything about people making fun of Black Law's Dictionary, even though it's Black Law's Dictionary. I might see like a skit.
Hey, I know how to do this. Everybody take a shot every time he says Black's Law Dictionary. You'll be dead in 16 minutes.
Black laws, black laws, black laws, black laws, black laws, black Caucasian. Come on.
Mr. Denicola over here sit down and read stereo instructions. He don't care. Dude, it's rough. I'll tell you what I'll do. Maybe tomorrow, if it don't get too loud over here tomorrow. I might go try to find something from Black's Law to just record in my Darth Vader voice.
There you go.
Spanky and Panky.
Oh, that's good.
Are you sure? Hey, did you see that short I put up of you?
Yes, I like it.
Buy him a better potato sack. Did you see that one?
What's that?
The one with the buy him a better, get him a better potato sack to wear?
No, I saw the one that was an untethered threat.
Yeah, that was a good one too. There's also
take you and lead you down the rabbit hole. What was I even talking about?
That was like our second freaking stream or third. It was very, very early. I'm pretty sure we were the only people watching that one.
That's not the case now.
It doesn't seem to be the case currently. We got Walter, John, Judd.
Hello, everyone. Hello, person above my head.
All right, hold on. Let me see if I can fiddle around. You want to put your name in your thing? I'll turn the names on. I think I've got it set up so that it doesn't actually cover up all of my chat, just one little bar of it. So, how you like my little brand change that I've had go on? Doesn't it look a lot cleaner? I think it looks cleaner. Although I do have to say this much. Although I can't bring myself to actually use Melon, as good as the sound is, if I could sing, I would totally do it. But I'm not that person. The reason I won't use it is because it doesn't have a countdown timer to go live. There's a bunch of really weird features over there that don't exactly align with the way StreamYard does things. I'm not saying they have to, but like the way when I bring a guest in, instead of them being over here on the side, they're like right up under me. You know, that's the kind of weird. Although it does make for a very pretty short when you remix it. It's beautiful. Which way? Up here? Over here? Over there? That way?
Man.
Excuse me.
Let's see what else we got in the old stack over here. Since
I got a little belchy action going on.
You got a what?
Belchy action?
You're going to burp into my live stream.
I'm not trying to, but I just kind of did. I'm sorry. Do you smell it? It's good.
What the hell is that? Galadriel, the demon, something.
You saw that? Where'd you saw that? I'm sorry. That's
Black Laws Matter.
That's supposed to be next week's show, and everything just froze up. It's not supposed to do this. Let's try this on for size. Nope, that's not actually working either. Wow.
Happy Saturday, Mr. Untethered.
Happy Saturday, Fab Daddy.
Galadriel the Psychopath. Would you rather watch that one? Have you watched The Rings of Power?
Yes. Well, we started to, and
I have the same story.
Dude, I tried to beat Jake through it. He couldn't do it. He finally just looked at me and was like, let's watch Foundation instead. 3/4 of the way through the Ring of Power. He's like, can we watch anything else? Do I have to keep watching this? I was like, no, we can watch whatever you like, dude. And I wanted to see Foundation anyway. Why is everything screwing up all the time? I don't understand. Let's try this again. We're going to do it this way. I'm going to hit that one. See, that's weird. Like, it'll load that one up, no problem. Go over here to this one. And then you get back to the beginning so it makes sense.
It is one of the most used websites on the internet.
All right.
It's the kitty cat.
Do y'all all right? How long have y'all been mucking around in YouTube?
I've been mucking around for 7+ years.
Okay, so are you familiar with the old YouTube poops?
What are you talking, emoji style poops?
No. There used back before there were shorts. Way back when YouTube let you upload 3-minute videos in the early days of YouTube.
That was probably my son's time period. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Back in the old days, back when YouTube first got started, I had
basically
to walk uphill both ways.
Before =3 was the thing, and before there were like actual personalities like Logan Paul and whatnot that were out there, there was this time period where
Why did you mention Logan Paul? Out of all the people out there, why did you mention Logan Paul? What's wrong with
because he's specifically a YouTube personality. He was also a big deal on Vine and several things before Vine. He had a few different things that he did, but he was more branched out in this time period than the other Paul brother Jake. He was mostly on Vine and Instagram later or whatever. Anyway, my point is,
I'm sad you know that. Okay, go ahead.
I've been on YouTube a while, dude. I just didn't make content earlier. What I'm getting at though is YouTube poops was what shorts were before there were shorts. They're generally only about 10-20 seconds long, sometimes as much as a minute. A few of them might go 2 or 3 minutes, but it was very rare. The idea being that you intentionally used a very cheap editor, a very simple overlay, very simple and easy ways to do it. And so it looks a certain type of cheesy, right?
So they purposely named it Poops. Shocking it didn't catch on.
It was just short shit. That was all. That was the idea. It's Poops.
What?
Wasn't a full production. It's not. There's nobody. There's no house or streamer or anybody behind this funding it. It's just some asshole in his basement with a computer going.
Shocking.
Hold on, that was called something else, wasn't it? I thought that was called something else on the internet.
I think YouTube Poops was originally a specific channel that did this type of content, and it got deuced out for some reason, and it just became the genre name for that type of stuff.
What was it before memes? I'm trying to remember. I can't. I'm sorry. I got pretty high tonight. It's Saturday. I'm home. I'm having a couple of beers, and I'm pretty high because I was on Devo's channel. But that's beside the point.
That will do it.
Absolutely, it will do it. But there was another name for things, but like MySpace time period.
Vine.
Were you part of MySpace?
Well, MySpace wasn't a video platform.
No, it was a social platform.
This is the
Facebook
very
was
first YouTube
MySpace.
video uploaded.
I'm a California kid. I'm not too far away from Silicon Valley. I think I know a little bit about some of this technology. My son's informed me a lot more. Even my mom knows more than me. I'm horrible, but yeah,
let me see if I got this right. You assure me that you know a little bit about this technology, but everyone you know is better at it than you?
Yes, pretty much. Because
All
I
right.
choose not to. I mean, I like real life. Do you know what IRL is? That's pretty cool. Real life is really cool. You know, like going to, going down and getting yourself going to the Waffle House. You know what real life is like. Well,
I've been begging my local Waffle House to let me get some footage from them for years. Like every time I get, not every time, but
you should. You're a good sponsor of the Waffle House. You make me want to go to the Waffle House. By the way,
by policy, they don't allow filming. If you go look, that's private. And as long as you don't cause an issue, they generally don't care. They can have your video taken down because it was filmed inside a Waffle House. If you notice, most of the video of Waffle House shenanigans takes place either from the Waffle House cameras or from outside the Waffle House filming.
If you want to see good quality, funny Waffle House content, go to Deev channel, DEEV.
okay, maybe I might. I don't know. I got a lot of channels I watch, Jake. Heck, I'm supposed to come over to your channel tomorrow night too. So, excuse me, Untethered.
Only the cool people do that, though.
Okay.
Thank you. And he should have a playlist of Waffle House material.
Waffle House. Oh, there you go.
There's no playlist. Wrong channel.
No, that's the right channel. You don't see
There's
Waffle House anywhere?
There is no playlist at all.
Okay, well, it's on there somehow. Maybe he's updating.
Waffle House got it taken off, Untethered.
That's possible.
There's no playlist.
Okay.
Weird.
Waffle House had that taken
Videos.
off. You know why? Because they own stock in Google, and that's all a subsidiary of Google, probably.
Here, I'll find one for you.
I like what Walter Davis just said, talking about,
I don't know.
Boy knowing so much about stuff on here, but not being able to do it himself. And Walter just says, I know a little bit about heart surgery, but you don't want me cutting on you.
Right. You're absolutely right, dude.
Correct.
Hey, Carrie.
What's up, bud?
I'm going to look you straight in the face with my scalpel, and I'm going to say just like this. All right, bud. We're going to dig around in here with this little old stick right here, see if we can find that old damn burn clot. We're going to dig it right on out of there. We'll put you a little stent in there to be just fine. You just breathe in real deep. Don't you worry about a thing. Bless your heart.
I put it in your private chat there.
Good douche.
Are you PMing? Is someone said that DMing is the way that people date with people nowadays?
Direct messaging.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, heard of that. I have heard of that before, where people will sit and they'll DM each other instead of actually meeting face to face.
I just had a DM date the other night, so it's okay. Go ahead. Let's hear about it. What do you know about it?
About DMs?
Yeah, DMing.
It's a real good way to get led down the garden path and murdered in a freaking small lot out behind you. Somebody's scared. You just be careful there, big dog. You do what you got to do, but you be careful, all right? Don't take back the head because you just believe somebody, right?
No, there's internet belief and then actual belief when you meet the person. I know. Actually, my DM was someone I knew, so it was okay. It was a little different.
I had a DM date the other night with Scarlett Johansson. We actually had sex on the first date. Well, I did. I don't know if she did or not.
Third base.
I DM'd myself one time and my hands got tired. I wonder why.
These are good jokes. This is fun.
I have an interesting thing that showed up that I would like to share with the class. So my wife's dad is he was a bit of a collector camera nut, right? And buried in all of his stuff up there was this broken digital handycam thing, right? Called the Digital 8. And it says it is a full streaming cam. So I'm going to see if I can dig me up a battery to go in this thing and see if it functions. We might have a two camera show.
Left or right?
Right?
Well, I usually use my right hand, but every now and then I want a little strange, so I'll use my left hand, and it's like a strange.
That's a little bit more information than I needed.
No, you're doing it wrong, dude. What you do is you sit down and you watch movies on your hand for like 2 or 3 hours until it's all numb and shit, and then you whip it out and try to work one out before the feeling comes back. That's called.
So you can't feel it.
It
It just feels like needles touching your. Yeah. Got it. That's horrible.
You're welcome.
I'm sitting on my hands right now. I'm working this one out.
Oh, you'll be good to go in an hour.
I'm telling you. Cut the
3 hours,
circulation off.
All right, Carrie, we got about 10 more minutes. We're going to be live. If you want to hit that link over yonder and jump back here because I know you're not going to come up on my show. You're just far too cool for that shit. And if you do, you're going to put some horrible words in your name. It's a terrible, terrible name.
Walter David says, glad I'm married. Hell, so am I.
I'm very glad I'm married. Absolutely. But then again, I made excellent decisions when I was younger. So now be jealous. Just, I don't know what else to tell you.
I don't know if my decisions were excellent, but they were multiple.
All right, baby. All right. Speak, Thug McCoy.
Don't fuck with the bull.
Okay. I'll give you the horns, baby.
Oh,
sorry, my internet cut out.
Words in my username this time. What? Now what?
What? No, you're good.
Hey, bro. Long time no see.
Hello.
Hi, Jack. Jake, rather fuck me.
What?
Who's your other friend, Fab Daddy?
Fab Daddy 44. I think his microphone is fried.
Cool.
And my mic's messed up.
It's really, really bad. I'm sorry. Pop out, jiggle the wires and stuff and pop back in. We'll try again.
What kind of McCoy is this?
He doesn't have his right icon up, so it doesn't make any damn sense because he's freaking dense. But his avatar is Dr. McCoy with the Thug Life glasses on.
Ah, gotcha.
Right? Yeah. So very confused
what
there.
I was thinking.
Bud. Right. Not at all what you were thinking, was it, Bud? I told him he might have to change that. He needs to having the mandatory carry thing. You need to put your Thug McCoy up there, and it makes more sense.
What's up, mandatory?
I am hunting. Oh, wow. It's really buried.
A wabbit?
Hey, Jack. God, mother. Okay.
Untethered live.
Untethered.
How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm very different.
Are you inebriated?
I am dead sober. Can you believe that?
Nope.
What is wrong with me?
Probably that you're sober.
Well, I had a great show last night. I left the house on their feet and cheering and walked off stage.
You get any vidges? Did you get some vidges? Cool.
Yeah.
Got to upload the vidges.
Well, if you don't know anything about me, you'll know that I'm a singer by trade, is what I do, entertainer. And a couple of years ago, when COVID hit, I got it, and I got it
All right.
really badly, and
Yeah.
it took my
What
voice
we got?
away. So I had to hire another guy to stand in the front and sing in my band, and me sit back there and watch him. So the fact that it's come back enough that I could do that was fantastic, because I'm used to
Speaking
bringing
of
the house down.
Fab Daddy?
I rebooted my phone. How did
Nope.
that
God,
sound?
horrendous. I'm sorry, dude. That's pretty bad. That's like,
Yeah,
I can't.
very staticky.
That's
What's the chances there's music in this? Absolutely music in this. That was pretty quick.
That was
Well,
good though.
That was the first date, bud.
Here's the good thing. He's already put it on his channel, so, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you pop that music in there. My blind date actually jumped. Oh, I haven't introduced you guys yet.
Hello, blind date. Oh, I got it.
She popping and locking? She popping and locking.
Get it, Granny?
That's right. Yeah. Go call. Wood. No, Ashley is not my daughter, bud. Not at all. If you drop out and come back, bud, try it again. You're in. Tab.
How's my mic? I adjusted it.
Okay, that's much better. That is much better, dude. I'm sorry. It was some kind of weird robot burning into my brain.
I had it 100%. I don't know why. I changed it to automatic adjust.
Yeah. Well, when you turn it all the way, 100%, that shouldn't be too much. When you turn it all the way up, it tends to glitch
Freak
things
out.
out.
Yeah. My bad. Who's Thug McCoy?
That's mandatory,
Yay,
Gary.
mandatory carry.
And I guess he took away the little symbol thing. It's his avatar is Dr. McCoy with the Thug Life glasses on, but he doesn't use his avatar when he's on panel because he's a bit anal retentive and doesn't like to follow directions.
I like this avatar that Ghost Tack gave me. I love this avatar that Ghost Tack gave me.
Okay.
He
okay,
worked.
in your train.
He worked for 3 days on that. You know, the only thing about it I don't like is when I'm on StreamYard, it's a black circle in a gray field. It's the only thing I don't like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like it. I dig it. It just doesn't explain the Thug McCoy bit at all.
No, it doesn't.
At all.
He's right, ladies and gentlemen. He's right, and I know it.
We want to know more about you, Thug. Come on, Thug. Tell us about
I know enough, man. I've read his manifesto.
It is not a manifesto.
I actually remember having a conversation with Carrie a year or two ago about his Dr. McCoy. Yeah.
Avatar. Yeah. Carefully selected. And then I got pissed off and added the Thug glasses. Ow. Speaking of 2 years ago there, Drew, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
So what were we discussing before I walked in and crashed the
Actually,
party?
let me go ahead and do this. Since Drew is the guest of the moment, we'll start with him. Give everybody a poke at your channel, bud.
All right. For those of you who don't know me, I am Drew Ellsworth McCrae. My channel is Living History's Mysteries. We do a lot of history or mysteries that history left behind. We do television and movie history. We do trivia on our live streams. Always hopping, man. Always hopping.
There's always something new going on over there.
Oh, God, tell me about it.
All right, Jake, your turn.
Hi, I'm Untethered Live, and I run a channel that delves deep into the text of antiquities and into the truths and myths of past times. Come by and check me out at Untethered Live on YouTube and everywhere else.
Fantastic. Mandatory carry. Do the thing you like to do because people put you up there.
Warning, F-bombs are armed and will be dropped. I literally the guns everywhere guy that Shannon Watts is so terrified that she just ran away from reality over. Is that the one you were looking for?
It's good enough for government work, bud. Hey, Fab Daddy, say something interesting.
Interesting.
Fantastic. So that's been our show, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate each and every one of y'all coming by. And we'll be backstage having a bit of a powwow amongst ourselves and seeing about if we can watch some kind of movie or something. I don't know. We'll see. I'm thinking about some Serenity. Sounds good to me. So if anybody wants to watch Serenity, we'll be backstage doing all that kind of stuff. But until we meet again, I found the right outro. And I want the real one, not the wrong one. I want the right one. Where's it at? I found it. There it is. Nope, wrong one.
Sorry. Good news, though. We're going to have to move the party somewhere a little bit more private, but you're all invited. Lorenzo will give you the details. Yeah!
Hey, she was a cutie in a sundress. I told her I just had to confess. I got a crush on you, darling. Them long tan legs got me